I'll just start off saying that I got what is one of my favorite notes from Jim early on, that he wanted the music to sound like the main character's pants were too short. So that's maybe a non-musical directive, but it was easy to achieve. I got it right away.
Yeah, I don't know much about music. I know what I like, and I know what the feelings I want to evoke. But other than that, I had a lot of trust in Mark. And he is in Portland, and I'm in New York. So it's telephone, mostly email, probably. Yeah, I was going to mention the short pants too. It was sort of like I don't know how to put it other than his pants are too short. It was this wonderful thing that happened when it was a mistake. Jermaine's pants were too short in the final scene, and we didn't have the time to fix it, so we just incorporated
that wasn't on purpose?
We incorporated it into the story, and it was kind of perfect.
It's perfect.
Yeah, and I think you found a way to. You found the sound of short pants.
Our film's a comedy, and I think, certainly for me, I think that's one of the hardest disciplines. The first lot of stuff that I wrote, you just didn't like it at all. And it was right, because I think you can very easily in a comedy undermine the characters. And you don't really want to do that. You want the audience to be behind the characters, and I think that I was edging towards that. So that's always a difficult thing to kind of throw your idea away completely and come up with a completely new one. But I did, and it worked out. But I think it's always, whatever it is, it's all about narrative. And to answer your first question, how much do you talk about music? I always try to not talk about music at all, because music is just secondary. Really, what you're doing is you're a storyteller, and you've got a narrative to follow or a narrative to support, and you do that through the medium of music.
I'm not musical at all, and I found myself using the terms ballsy and less ballsy, or sucky and less sucky with Ilan, and he was able to interpret my horrible communication and do something great with it.
But I think that kind of that's for me, that's more useful. I would much rather that than somebody trying to tell me, hey, should that note go up, should that note go down? I just think, no, tell me what you want from the scene. I'll decide whether the notes go up.
I think
or
I
down.
sang a few themes that he did. I'd be like, can you make it? I'd go, like right there. We'd be Skyping. He was in London and I was in Utah. Anyway, whatever. God bless him. It was all very quick. We hadn't even started on the music when we got the call that the film was in the festival, so we had to move very quickly. So a week and a half ago, we finished our mix.
I think for Zipper, we started talking in terms of creating a subjective quality, because I want the whole movie to feel like we're inside this main character's skin. So the music really was a big part of that, like being his emotional life and what that would sound like, and the sort of demons inside him, and talking in terms of like emotion and character and some references.
Yeah, and I had this, it seemed like a crazy idea of doing 8 cellos as a choir, and there was very little movie. It was maybe 10 minutes of movie, and I went and recorded 8 cellos for 4 hours. So I kind of threw a Hail Mary, but that wound up covering about maybe 60% of our needs in the film, so it was a good gamble.
It started out that idea of like the cello as a man, and grew from there.
In Cartel Land, the landscape, as well as the soundscape, is a character in the film, and so we really wanted to utilize the sounds of the desert, the sounds of Mexico, as part of the score. So we actually delivered to Scott and Jackson a lot of just raw nat sounds that they morphed and used in funky ways. And the other thing was we wanted to, it's a parallel story of Mexico and Arizona, and so we wanted to use the music to both differentiate and tie the two stories together. And it was really amazing seeing the two of them sort of collaborate. I've never worked with 2 composers before, but to see them sort of workshop, and it was like this amazing sort of seamless process. That was like it was a beautiful thing to watch.
Right.
Matt's leaving out the most important thing, which is that he played mandolin on the score.
Yeah, so you're musical.
Yeah.
No.
Did he play it well, though?
Yeah, yeah.
There was a lot of distortion on the mandolin. So.
Nikole gives incredibly clear directions, and that was really key to Bryan and my collaboration and our collaboration with you. Nikole also, we talked a lot about breath and about waves of sound. So I would say that your intentions were really clear with every scene, and a lot of it was about capturing certain kinds of energy. And I don't know how many of you have seen Stockholm, but it's a very transparent film. You hear everything. You hear every breath. You hear every footstep. You hear everything. So I think that we also try to respect that and underscore that quality by creating music that had a transparency too.
Yeah, it was important that we didn't want to tell anyone how to feel at any point in the film, and music is very powerful in doing that, so it was this tricky thing of trying to figure out how to create a supportive score, and I think we did a pretty good job. And also the movie's very spare, and so Bryan and Nora would be making these like incredible pieces. I'd be like, "That's so beautiful! I love it so much," and we're not going to use it, which happened a lot. But it was a really fun process.
Yeah. So with this film, I did not do what one usually does, which is to mock everything up and with samples and play it for the director and get approval. I felt that because of the nature of the really personal interior quality of the film, I needed to do some live recording to even present to Chloé. So I just started recording with live players. I just use a violin, electric violin, cello, electric cello, and piano, electric piano. That's the whole thing. And I did a batch of recordings just on my own and brought them to New York. We looked at them, and she made a comment about, could we have a whisper version of this cue? And that kind of unlocked the movie for me because it kind of gave me a perspective to inhabit a certain kind of quality that the image of whispering, and that the music had to really fit into this landscape in a very subtle way.
We, for Welcome to Leith, did not have a composer booked at all before when we found out we got into Sundance. That was a bit of a shock. Looking for composers, we came across T because we saw The Overnighters, which also took place in North Dakota, and our film takes place in North Dakota. We put out a call, and luckily he fit. I guess, musically speaking, I don't really know how to speak about music, but I think the one thing my co-director Mike and I would always say is we want you to make, we don't want to know, well, you don't want the audience to know what the instrument is, basically.
I feel like more often than not, if I get that long email from the director where it's like talking about all these philosophical things and appropriating things to colors and stuff like that, it's not that I can't connect it to it. It just feels like it doesn't translate into anything musical to me sometimes. And performance is a big thing. And so Colby's performance in Unexpected especially, it's just being able to link into her eyes and kind of whatever intrinsic thing is going on with her and her performance in the film leads me more often than not on stuff, being able to kind of feel the things that are not being said.